Hi, and welcome to Guided Meditations and More. My name is Ade Richardson, and this is the Guided Meditations and More video podcast. So I've been offering this for a few months now. And the podcast, I have various types of people join and talk about a variety of topics. And today we have with us Shannah White, and the topic is unworthiness. So we're going to explore that topic. That's something that I was really excited to talk about. I've actually have worked with Shannah. We did a session together, and so it was really good. I felt it was very helpful, and we actually met through the topic of unworthiness because there was a conversation on I think it was Buddha at the gas pump. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So that. And so we were talking about that topic, and I thought that'd be a great topic that a lot of us, deal with, especially here in the West. So welcome, Shannah, to Guided Meditations and More. Good to have you here. And also, if you have any comments or questions for Shannah, you can leave it in the comment section here, and I'll pass them along during the live conversation. Or you can also send me a direct message if you have any comments or questions for me. And if you enjoy these podcasts, if you like or follow the page, you'll get the updates and notifications. So let's get right into the conversation. So let's begin. I thought we'd begin with perhaps, define what unworthiness is, because there's different terms that one might attach to unworthiness. Like with unworthiness, I think of the feeling of not being good enough. So maybe there's certain terms that resonate more with different people. So how would you define what would be within that spectrum under the that term unworthiness?
So from my perspective, I see that people, including myself, I'm not excluded, everyone deals with unworthiness in some way, shape, or form. And sometimes it registers as an emotional pain. So like you were saying, it's a feeling of not being lovable or not being worthy. And sometimes it registers from a more mental perspective. So sometimes unworthiness is the experience that you simply can't believe that you can have more. You can't believe that your life could be peaceful, that you could have a peaceful, happy, fulfilled existence. My dad expresses his unworthiness by, I will offer him, I'll say, I'm going to make some dinner. Do you want some? And his first answer is no. And then later he feels lacking and he wants some. But his first response is to deny himself. And then after that, he feels the pain of that denial, and he wants to fix it. And I certainly don't mind sharing the food, but what is a real shame about it actually is that he himself doesn't know how to let the love into his heart to envision more for himself so that he could say yes from the beginning.
Yeah. And I think that I do the same, and I've kind of learned to rationalize it. Like the inner voice is like, oh, it's not a big deal. And then what I end up doing is doing everything myself and feeling a little bit resentful, about that nobody's doing anything for me.
Yeah, it's complicated. It's complicated. So at the heart, I would say, I would like to share that unworthiness is, it comes from a place where where we're in our head, basically. It's really simple and easy to flip into the mode of being that sets us up for feeling unworthy. As human beings, we're designed to be in partnership with love, and our equipment for being in partnership with love is our heart center. But we're not taught to open that or connect with that. We're not even taught that there's any authority within us innately. We're taught by modeling other human beings, and also in our whole education system and our society as a whole and our consumer economy, we're taught that we inside are empty or lacking, and what we need is outside. And we have to add what's outside to ourselves in order to become happier. But this is all this kind of dream state that gets us wrapped up in our head, processing perceptual data, five sense data, the situations going on around us, and not realizing that there's this gold treasure on the inside. And so we don't actually know where the muscle group is, the awareness muscle group, to look within. And because we don't, and we don't have that inner love connection, we walk around feeling kind of empty, leaking our own spiritual life force out into all these things around us, these situations that we think we need around us. And that sets us up for feeling lacking and unworthy, and believing that that's a reality we have to continue to walk in.
Yeah, and for those that might not be familiar with the heart space, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. So the heart space is it actually literally resides in the center of our chest. This is not about your physical heart. This is also not about your deep sincerity or your really good feeling emotions. People use the word heart to describe those things, but they're not always referring to what I'm referring to when I talk about the heart center. So what I'm talking about is this space in the center of your chest, and it's surrounded by your intuitive feeling sense. So the first place to go to start to connect with your heart, to go the direction of connecting with your heart, is to turn off your vision center, I call it, because this also has a feeling of looking. So we have to switch out of looking thinking and into feeling listening. The feeling listening tends to take place on the inner space. And this looking thinking is usually happening right behind the eyes. So we just want to turn off that looking and relax and find our way to feeling the inner space of our torso. And as we find how to relax and breathe with that, and just have this gentle curiosity and let our gentle curiosity fill up our awareness. So it's not a strain to be there. It's actually kind of joyful to be like, ooh, what am I feeling? As we find comfort with that muscle group, then we can start to go deeper into the center of our chest with that feeling awareness. And it takes time, and sometimes it takes tweaking and adjustments. But if we go deep enough inside our heart center with that feeling awareness, this love energy will ignite of its own accord. It's not something that we make up. It's something that enters our awareness from the love energy that's the source of all. And I say that as probably might land as a concept, but concepts will never get you to the center of your heart. So let go of a concept if that's what's going on, right? And just feel, and eventually that love energy will meet you inside that center if you can climb deep enough inside that center with humility yourself.
Yeah.
With humility, what I mean is not thinking.
Okay. So, I mean, so the I mean, the not thinking is the part I think many of us have a difficult time with. You know, because I mean, for speaking for myself, you know, going from the head to the heart feels like going from the brain seeking certainty, you know, as brains do to survive, to know what's, you know, gonna be what's next on the path or down the road, and go into this place of uncertainty, and it could be a little bit scary, you know. Thoughts come up, you know, the analytical mind, or am I in the heart space? Is this, am I doing it right? You know, these sort of things. And you did mention to, I don't know if you've used the word playfulness, or is it curiosity? I,
Yes.
yeah, curiosity. So I take it that's one of the, it's not about getting it right, but, you know, just exploring with curiosity.
Yes, right. I often like to call it gentle curiosity. And it's not about that you need to feel a particular thing in your inner space. It's if you it's just investigating what there is to feel, and to do so with gentle curiosity, and to fill up your attention with that gentle curiosity. And that's the ticket to not having to fight with your mind about thinking, because our attention is like a spotlight, so we can choose where we put our attention. Now, doesn't mean that it's easy, but it's a discipline that we can grow at. And I, for myself, have found that I can't stand, honestly, I can't stand when I have tried my interpretation of meditative techniques where I'm trying not to think. And what I feel like I'm doing is I feel like I'm sitting on the edge of my head, still in my head, daring my mind not to think. And it's excruciating and tedious. It's very tedious. Whereas what I practice on a regular basis, and what I try to guide people through when I coach them, is how to turn that down, turn on your feeling sensitivity, and then fill up your awareness with your feeling sensitivity, so that you're not meditating in a practice of what not to do. You're meditating in a practice of what to do. And what to do is this feeling sensitivity.
And when you say feeling sensitivity, is that sort of feeling your body, or what do you mean by that? The feeling sensitive, is it, you know, feeling, because, you know, in some meditations you're asked to put your attention to the sensations, you know, like sitting on the chair, or your legs, or your hands, or, you know, is that what you mean by feeling sensitivity, or is it, you know, emotions and everything as well?
So that's a great question. So there's a range of what we can feel, from the physical all the way to, honestly, all the way to like revelatory knowledge, spiritual revelatory knowledge. And when we are used to being in our head, which doesn't always feel like being in our head, sometimes it feels like being in our story that's very emotional, and we feel like we're not thinking, but we are having very strong emotions, while those emotions are in reaction to the story of self that we think is happening. And so that is actually, it does qualify as being in our head. So when we turn off the looking, thinking quality, the objective is also to turn off our stories of self. So we're descending, like you said, into that unknown place, that inner unknown. And it is scary at first, because we have learned all these years to navigate and take care of things from our thinking, looking place. So we're letting go of our navigation system, and we don't know yet that this other feeling place is a new navigation system that we can trust. As for me, the unknown was very scary in the beginning, but as I started to have success at navigating from a more intuitive place by hanging out in the inner unknown and feeling, then I started to trust that navigation system. I was like, hey, those are better results when I do that. So the unknown became less scary for me. So getting back to the range of what we can feel. When we're first starting out, some people can only feel, they don't have an energetic sensitivity within themselves yet. And so if that's the case, then yes, feel the physical sensations that you can feel. And I have suggested to some people who are dealing with that level of accessibility for themselves, feel the temperature of the air in your sinuses as you breathe. And then notice how far back that sensation goes, right? So they might first just notice it in here, and then they start to notice it, wow, actually it goes all the way back here, you know? And then I say, so what else can you notice? And this might happen over days or weeks. What else can you notice while you breathe? Oh, I notice that the feelings in my muscles, like in my neck and in my back, change when I inhale. That's it, right? So we can start at that physical level. And if we just relax in noticing whatever there is to feel, and what more can I feel? What more can I notice? What more is there to notice? Then we can start to feel inner sensations in the inner space of the torso that feel more etheric, that they're not as traceable to pressure nerves on the surface of the skin or whatever, like those kinds of things. And so that's great. And then we can go, so ideally, we're going to want to be in this storyless place so that the sensations that we're feeling are just what they are in the now. I have had my own experience, and this is just part of bouncing in and out of the head and the heart and processing experiences. You might find that there are emotional residues. So you could have no story going on in your mind right now, but maybe you were dealing with experiences that were challenging over the last couple of days. And I did this some months ago or weeks ago that I remember, and I wrote about it, sent it out to my email list, where I was recovering from a couple days of really intense experiences. And I breathed, I went into storylessness, I entered the inner unknown, which now to me feels like so soothing. And then I breathed into my body and I felt, oh, interesting. I feel a tightness in my solar plexus and a joylessness in my heart area. And I feel also the impressions of roles. Like if we have an experience with somebody that we are, perhaps we're performing a service or whatever. I mean, there's all kinds of opportunities for roles, but if there's a certain dynamic between us and another person for a day, then we go to sleep and we wake up the next day. How do we approach ourselves and that person the next day? Do we do it based on history and adopt a role? And then now we're in a story with ourselves. We're getting disconnected from the heart and we're setting ourselves up for unworthiness. Or do we just start over completely? And so this is part of the experience of reconnecting with my heart in that moment, was that I noticed, oh, I have impressions of what it was like to relate to this person. And if I carry those forward, I will be acting out a role. I don't want to do that. So I breathed to let that go. I breathed into my solar plexus to release the tension that I felt there. And I breathed into my heart just to let the breath like stretch out the tissue and stretch out the energy at the same time. And I dove into the center of myself to connect with that where that love energy would ignite, would meet me and ignite of its own accord. And then I felt myself renewed.
Yeah. Yeah. And that process, when one is going from the head, the conceptual framework, and going into the heart space, where that love energy is, which would kind of take the place of that feeling of lack, that feeling that I'm unworthy. But I imagine that many come against that which they were distracting themselves, as you said, where the attention's going outward, the society is telling us we're not enough, we need this, we need that. Or, many people turn to drugs and alcohol, or blame, or all different ways to distract from feeling this sense of unworthiness. So it seems to me that part of it is first, becoming conscious of the unworthiness. But when you're going from the head to heart, I imagine that many may come across this difficult emotion, and the physical sensation, which I think you were referring to as well. So is it something that someone should go through with someone else, offering a sort of a safe space to help guide the person through this? Or is it something that, one can do in their own practice? Or what is, I imagine that having support to go into that might be helpful.
Yeah, support is definitely helpful. I wouldn't say that anybody should do one thing or another. Um, what you should do is what you feel right about doing it in yourself, for sure. I can say that my journey has been incredibly more efficient because I've worked with a mentor for my whole path, and I know that I can offer people, as a coach myself, I can offer people efficiency in their path because we wander lost. It's, what I I was never able to feel the energy of the earth. Okay, not that that's a high priority necessarily. It's a beautiful thing. But I didn't know the significance of it. But I lost my horse last year, and the day that I lost her, I discovered that the reason that I loved her so much over the 28 years that I had her is because I loved the signature of her soul. I loved the way her soul felt to me. But I did not know that until I lost it. Then when I lost it, I was like, oh, that feeling that's missing. I always felt it when I was around her. And I even remember feeling it the day that I met her, which was before I ever started my journey with sacred reality, my spiritual journey, my discipline that I'm on now. So then I went for a walk. And I thought to myself, gosh, what's my life going to be like without this beautiful feeling that I could visit with every day? And I heard a voice inside me respond and say, but there are so many things to feel. And so on my walk, I discovered, by feeling in the same direction as that empty spot where I used to feel my horse's soul signature, I tried feeling in that spot, and I was like, oh, I can feel the energy of the earth. I can feel the energy of these Canadian geese as I walk past them. I can feel the energy of this woman who wants to talk to me about tango now. I was like, oh my gosh. So we have awareness available to us that can open up our lives and transform us. But when we don't know where to look inside our own mind, we can go around in circles forever. And the other thing, getting to what you were talking about the difficult feeling with the unworthiness. when we're in our head, a couple things I want to say about that. When we're in our head, first of all, we have a number of really good ideas about how we're going to solve the lack we feel inside, how we're going to prove our worthiness. Okay. I'll tell you what my great idea was about how I was going to prove my worthiness. Okay. I was going to find a guy who was not interested in me, and I was going to change his mind. Because a guy who was already interested in me when I first met him, that was cheap. Like that, he was needy, and in my mind, he was needy, and that didn't prove anything about my self-worth. But if I could take a guy that was not interested in me and turn his mind around so that he was interested in me, that would prove my self-worth to me. So this, I then acted out this pattern for years until I found my way out of that labyrinth. So on the one hand, we have these great ideas about how we're going to fix the lack we feel inside. And that is, that's a trap. That's one thing that will keep us tempted to look away from our heart, even after we find how to feel it, where we're like, oh yeah, I mean, that's spiritual love, but hey, I'm going over there to get what I really need.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's one thing. And then the other thing that you had mentioned was when we're looking outside and pushing and leaking all this way that everybody lives their life day in and day out, because this is what we learn is how to be human. It messes with our will. So our will is the sphere around our heart. This is our feeling sense. This is our intuition. And this is how we feel how to move in alignment with love normally. But when we don't feel love, we're pushing our ideas, we're running the will backwards. Instead of our inspiration radiating from the center outward, we're taking our ideas of what we think is truth, the right thing, and we're pushing down and then out to accomplish that. And this twists the will up into knots. And additionally, we're investing our emotional energy in joyless patterns. Joy comes from being in the unknown and connecting with the heart. And meanwhile, we're stuck in time trying to figure out how to do our story right, and we're pushing our will out. And what it does is it, like I said, it ties the will up in knots. So when we are descending out of the head to connect with the heart, the first thing that's going to happen is we're going to feel the way we feel in our will, all twisted up from everything we've been doing. And that feels really icky. And I call it no man's land. Well, we have to cross no man's land because the oasis is on the other side, in the center.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like that analogy of, coming, this way and forcing our will out rather than, it feels like when coming from the heart, it's more of a given, more of a, like overflow,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. We're giving of the fullness in ourselves instead of taking to compensate for the emptiness we feel.
Yeah, which doesn't seem to be in alignment with truth. So I can see how it gets all distorted and tangled up and things like that. Well, going back to, you had mentioned your horse, and I'm sorry that she, right? Sorry that she passed away, and but it made me think of animals. As far as I know, they don't seem to have this feeling of unworthiness. So, and maybe some of them do. I don't know, but maybe we can talk about, in terms of humans, where do we pick up this idea from? This because I don't think we come into this world unworthy, or do we, or do we have this sense of unworthiness when we come in?
I would say that we do not. So I don't have any children myself, so I haven't been in the company of babies quite the way many people have. But I was speaking with a friend who was a recent grandmother, and she was describing her joy at just being around her grandchild, and the raw joy and unconditional love energy that she feels coming off of this baby. And that like totally fits with my understanding of the way that things work, that we come in innocent in our in the glory of our essential nature, which is that we are an extension of divine love. But as a baby, we don't have the wisdom yet to hold that space through all kinds of challenges. So when, as a child, whatever age, we start to experience pains that we don't understand, we start to interpret and believe that reality has some loveless qualities to it or rules to it. And this is when we start to lose trust. And when we lose trust, then we need to take care somehow. So there's a process of switching where we kind of shut down and then we switch over to our head. Now, the other dynamic that's much more innocent of how we switch to our head is just becoming very involved in looking at the physical, looking through our five senses. So that, again, our attention is a spotlight, and that spotlight shifts so that it's concentrated fully on the five senses. So it's a combination of both of those things, that we lose trust in love because of things that hurt us, and that shuts down the heart center. And we also are meanwhile developing this navigation system, this heady five sense navigation system, very innocently. So it would be nice if we lived in a society that understood the intuitive heart connected navigation system, and then we would be educated in that as a child as we grow up, and we would start to master it in our, I don't know, teenage, early 20 years, instead of being totally confirmed in this idea of a loveless reality that everybody on earth shares, and we've had our own experiences with it.
Yeah, it seems and in terms of children, I think early on we kind of teach them to be scared and to get into this sort of survival sort of mechanism. Even with Halloween and scary movies and things like that. So we teach them to be scared of the monster. And who other is the monster? It's aspect of themselves. So it's like, be scared of the dark. Don't look into the unknown. So in the school system, you have to know this. Everything has to be done this way. So creativity is not really encouraged. And especially if you want to survive and you want to get love and you want to make sure your parents who are, I'm not trying to blame the parents, but you want their love, you depend on them for your security. And so you start to do things in a certain way. You start to kind of get into a certain agreement with them. Like, okay, well, this is the truth, and I kind of remember as a child when I made those decisions, because there was a playfulness. I would do things with curiosity and just be in the moment and be present. And then at some point, everything became a work. Everything became, I need to get this to get approval, or to get love. and and that sort of thing began, and with that came this feeling of unworthiness. So.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, how much do you think, in terms of, and this is going in sort of another, just introducing another element into this, the knowing our true essence, do you think that everyone has had a glimpse of that, kind of like on some level, has had somewhere in their experience or in their memory, knows their true essence? And would you say that perhaps this feeling of being incomplete, or which we may attach to unworthiness, the confirmation bias sort of thing, is partly because we know that there is this grander self, that there is this this deep love, this heart center, but we so we know that it as the identity, the personality, we're not that. So can we ever kind of I don't know, we'll just go off of that. So yeah.
So I hope that everyone has had an experience of feeling their divine essence. I don't know if everyone has. I don't know if people have even suffered trauma in the womb that caused them to shut down that early. I don't know. Everybody's experience is different, but regardless of whether they have or have not, it's my observation, and consistent with my study too, that, and my experience, that people will still feel incomplete even if they've never had that, because we are designed to be in partnership with love. It's just that we don't understand the lack that we feel, but we still feel it because we are designed to have this intuitive navigation system and to feel alignment with love. And when we don't, we feel lost, and we feel like we have to survive on our own. So everybody feels this lack that drives them. I mean, even people who don't feel attracted to stretching spiritually, they still feel a lack that drives them to survive on their own. They still feel alone in life, and they still feel that unworthiness. They just don't know. Many people don't know, even if they want to stretch spiritually, they don't know exactly what is causing that lack and that unworthiness. They don't know that what's really caused that. It's not a personality pain. Like we think of ourselves as whoever, I'm Shannah White. I had a horse for 28 years. I've done website development. I've studied spirituality for 25 years, whatever, all these things. This could be my story of self. And my story of self could have certain pains, like, oh gosh, that website client is difficult to deal with, or whatever my pains might be, right? But the unworthiness is not a personality pain. It doesn't come from our situations. Even if somebody does not suffer any childhood wounds, right? No wounds, like their parents were totally nice to them and everything was really great, but nobody taught them how to connect with their heart. They're still going to suffer from unworthiness in some way, shape, or form, because it's not a personality pain, it's a soul pain, because the soul is designed to be connected with divine love. So even people that don't search spiritually, they live with that pain. They just cope with it differently.
Yeah. So would you say that's perhaps part of why we're here? Like part of the journey of being human is to reconnect in that way?
Well, gosh. So I don't know the whole picture yet. But what feels right to me when I think about it is that, I have felt the quality of my spirit. So I understand the human being to be spirit, soul, mind, and body. And we are a couple of souls having this conversation. The soul is that point of awareness that chooses between the head and the heart, so to speak, and makes other choices too, what to eat for breakfast, all that kind of thing. And the spirit is the incorruptible aspect of ourselves that is a direct extension of love. My word for the source of all things is love, all things that are real anyway. Many things are created which are not created from love. So that's anyway. We can get into that, but now I'm trying to remember what I was saying. I just derailed my thought. Do you remember?
The reconnection, and you were saying you don't have the whole
Oh, that's
the
right.
picture yet.
Yeah. So what I feel like is, I feel like, we come to Earth for like to play a game, to discover how to bring the beauty of what love is and the power of what love creates through all the dimensions of awareness into the physical plane. Because we are ourselves multidimensional beings, that the spirit is fifth dimensional and higher, our soul is fourth dimensional. And what is that? Well, I'll get to that in a second. So, and then our physical perception is experiencing the three-dimensional. Our stories are two-dimensional. So we've got length, width, and height, right, in the three dimensions. And then at the soul level, we add that intuitive sensitivity that gives our perception of the physical depth. And so that's why it's the fourth dimension. It adds another dimension to our awareness. And then in our two-dimensional ideas where we're placing meaning on the things that we're looking at, like, it's not just a glass jar. It's my favorite glass jar. So I'm adding this meaning to it, right? Well, what appears to give our meaning depth is our emotional reactions to the meaning that we're putting on it. So it gives it the appearance of having four dimensions because we feel the emotion in our feeling sense, but it's a counterfeit. I don't remember if I answered your question. I think I did.
Yeah. So it is. It's like sometimes feels like a game of hide and seek. That sort of reconnection. And sometimes I feel like I put myself through certain things, and I guess when I say myself, the one making that decision may be the soul, deciding to go this route and go through this experience for the sake of having this experience and go through some pain to come back and to the experience of the heart. And so the spirit, talk a little bit more about the spirit, because whenever I hear soul, spirit, I'm never quite clear on what the difference is. So, I mean, is the spirit just pure love, or what would you say the spirit is?
The spirit is the expression of love. So love is um, I experience love as itself through all dimensions. It's not limited to dimensions or characterized by dimensions. It permeates all dimensions. So love, if I can use kind of Christian terms, love would be the Father aspect of God. And then love So love thinks. Love is the original thinker. What love thinks is created. So then, as love thinks, movement is created, movement of that thought. And this is the mother aspect. And then this creates an expression, which is then the child. I'll use the non-gender specific word. So spirit is the child. Spirit is the expression of the creative source thinking. How's that for an answer?
Yeah, I think, you know, I'm trying to sort of go through the experience of it while while you're talking, and I think that, I mean, it does resonate, you know. It does resonate, and whereas, um, you know, there is the other, like when you say love, you know, and when we hear that, a lot of times we think about emotional love, but that's part of it, but that's not the whole thing. And just for, I imagine, you know, that's not the whole thing. So for those who may not, I mean, would love be synonymous with like pure awareness, or would that be the same thing? I know it's hard to, you
Yeah.
know, kind of encapsulate these sort of things.
Um, so I do want to say that love that comes from when we love something or someone could be just our emotional reaction to our story. So sometimes it's not at all related to the power that creates universes. um, but so what I know about love from my own experience, okay, um, is it's an energy. It's an energy that I can feel in my heart center. And when I feel it, it feels warm. It brings joy. It brings peace. It brings clarity. And it feels like love. Like I know it to be love. Sometimes we know something from within and we just know it. We can't explain it like, well, I read it in Encyclopedia Britannica. But we know it more with more certainty than if we read it in Encyclopedia Britannica. And the other thing that I will say that I know about love from personal experience is that I feel it to be a certain kind of a frequency that harmonizes everything that it touches. It reorganizes things back into harmony. And it also has a certain constancy to its presence. It's reliable in a sense, like a like a musical note that never changes pitch and never fades. But that doesn't mean that there's no variety to how it expresses itself. There is variety to how it expresses itself, but the character of it is steady and trustworthy. That's what I know about love from my own experience of that energy.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm as you're talking about it, I'm kind of feeling it within myself. And the other thing I've noticed about it is it's not like screaming that it needs something. You know, it's not sort of grasping, or you know, and it's, as you were saying, as I put my attention more in that place, my own kind of inner anxieties and tensions within just kind of melt away as well, you know. So it's nice to go through this in real time.
Wonderful. I'm glad that you are doing that with me. And I really appreciate what you said also about the fullness and the cessation of need. That's a really important characteristic difference. Usually, when we love something in an emotional way, we need it, we want to possess it, We want to clutch it to ourselves. And the next thing we know, we're trying to control it. But love energy from the inside fills all our sense of lack. So we don't need. And then when we engage in relationship from this fullness, we feel free to give and allow. So we can allow the other person to be authentically themselves, and we want them to be, because we are being authentically ourselves in order to be resting and moving in this partnership of love. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's beautiful. And there's also, that part, going back to the unworthiness, there's that part that's, well, you're unworthy of this love, or you haven't done the things that you need to do to earn this. That's the kind of like feeling. But as from this place of love, when tapped into that, that becomes very very obvious for what it is. And it seems easier to kind of lean into that, that love even more. There's kind of a feeling that you just want to kind of drown in it, just like really immerse yourself in this kind of heart space. So,
yeah, it's beautiful and joyful,
yeah.
and tends to um, give rise to just kind of like percolating in the yumminess of it, right?
Yeah. And it is a little bit of a you said like using a new muscle, because there is that uncertainty. And but I think what helps me right now is having someone, to have that, like you're creating this space. There's a space here now. And so as you're talking about it, it's easier to um, to kind of relax into that place of uncertainty, rather than go to the head, go to the thoughts.
Yes. So one of the secrets about the human being is that we're not just bodies in a like Newtonian physics universe, and our communication is not limited to words. So we are spiritual and energetic beings, and part of the experience of holding a space for somebody that I have come to realize is true, and I don't, this is not like my skill, okay, this is just the way it works. In order to speak about these things, I have to speak from a place of authenticity. Otherwise, it becomes dogma concepts that are just as useless as every other dogma concept. Um, so, in order to speak authentically, I have to actually really feel my words. And so I have to hold this space in order to speak from it. And when this is my goal actually, whenever I work with someone or be with someone, is to be in this place and to feel, actually sit here in the inner unknown. I don't sit here with my library of what I think I'm going to say and all the things I'm going to talk about. I sit here in the inner unknown and I just feel. And I feel um, what feels appropriate without pushing and without holding back. And I also try to feel the other person. So what happens is this energetic communication, where someone else feels the space that I'm holding. So in addition to whatever discussion we're having that's bringing along the mental awareness and understanding, we're also having an energetic communication that's allowing people to feel their way into holding a heart space, because they're feeling and following my energy.
Yeah. Yeah. And I noticed that because, and it helped me with my own, library of ideas and, and things that are going through the Rolodex. And then I was like, okay, I can kind of relax into this uncertainty. Shannah's there. I can sense that, and it's safe to just relax and see how it flows. So it's really nice. Um, so we're about at the hour mark. I mean, I could just sit here and but I won't. It seems like now, like I don't really have much to say anymore. But if there's anything that we didn't get to that you felt like you wanted to talk about, please do so.
Okay, there was one thought I had about unworthiness, so let me see if I can recall it. And if
Yeah.
I can't, then we'll be done. And if anyone has any questions who's watching.
Yeah, again, if anyone has questions, please leave them below the comment. Leave them in the comment section.
Okay, I don't remember.
Yeah. Well, in terms of, if anyone wanted to, well, actually, I didn't read your bio, so I'm just going to read this.
Okay, sure.
Shannah White is a super humanity coach with sacred reality. She guides people in how to break out of their personal reality bubble of thinking from beliefs and emotion, and to instead connect with love energy, which I am doing right now, within to find consistent inner peace, easy flow, and natural intimacy and joy within themselves, their relationships, their work, and their day to day. And I'll post a link to how can people get in touch with you uh, if they want to work with you?
Yeah, they can message me on Facebook, or they can go to the Sacred Reality website and fill out the contact form. That'll get to me.
Okay, great. I'll post that link in the description of this video. So I guess we'll wrap it up.
Yeah.
This has been really delightful. Yeah, so thank you for joining. And I'll send you the edited video file, which is just an intro and an exit, of this.
Okay, great. I'll post it on the Sacred Reality website.
Yeah, great. So just some closing remarks. Hi, my name is Ade Richardson, and this is Guided Meditations and More. And we're here with Shannah White. The topic was unworthiness, but it was a lot more than that. It was really connecting, moving from head to the heart space, love energy. So if you have any questions or comments for Shannah, I will put her the website that you can reach her at, and it's a Sacred Reality, but I'll put the link in the description of this video. And you can also message her at our Facebook as well. If you have any comments or questions for me, please send me direct message. You can send me a message on Messenger or actually in the comments of this video as well. If you'd like to be notified about our upcoming meditations or interviews or other things we post on the page, just follow or like the page and you'll get the updates and notifications. So again, thank you everyone for joining. Shannah, thank you. This was delightful. I feel honored to have you here. Much appreciation.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.